Housekeeping items before we get started. Thanks everybody for joining us for Solarize Eagle County webinar to learn all about our Solarize Eagle County 2022 program. As you can see there, solar, simple together, that's the plan. My name is Nikki Moline. I'm the Energy Programs Director at Walking Mountain Science Center. We run the Energy Smart Colorado program. Also on with me today is Diego Betts. He works with me as a coordinator here with the Energy Smart Colorado program, and we will be facilitating today. I would ask everybody to use the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your screen, if possible, to ask questions. If you do get a question in there and it's pertinent to what Rich is talking about at that time, we'll certainly do our best to interrupt him and get your question answered. But most questions we will just save till the end of the webinar. So don't worry, there'll be plenty of time for you to ask questions at the end, and we do encourage you to write your questions in that Q&A box. Again, this webinar is being recorded, so we will send you out the recording in our follow-up email within the next few days. So watch for that. And we'll go ahead and get started. Solarize Eagle County. What is it all about? Well, what we can tell you on this slide is we have a lot of partners involved. The community partners are us here at Walking Mountain Science Center, the sustainability team, the Energy Smart Colorado program, CORE, the Community Office for Resource Efficiency over in the Roaring Fork Valley, where Eagle County is also located. Of course, Eagle County government, the town of Vail, the town of Avon, the town of Eagle, and Edwards Metro District are all contributing funds so that there's rebates available as part of the Solarize program. And the Solarize program came to us through a collaboration that happened through our Climate Action Collaborative locally, which I'll tell you a little bit more about. And our installation partner this year is Active Energy Solar. We're really excited to have them on board. So you may be wondering why we're offering a Solarize program in Eagle County. At Walking Mountains, we also manage our local Climate Action Collaborative, which is a collaborative of local stakeholders that meet regularly. We have set some greenhouse gas reduction goals, as you can see there on the slide, as well as we work regularly to develop strategies to help our communities reach those goals. Okay, somebody's telling me they can't see my slides. Is that Diego? Can you see my slides? Sorry, I'm just gonna stop for a second. The slides are not advancing.
Yeah, I only see the title slide.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. Very interesting. I apologize. I'm going to start over for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the second slide. This is the slide you probably didn't see. Is that correct, Diego? Can you confirm we're on the second slide with all the partners?
No, right now I just see your camera.
Okay. I think I'd be better off at this after doing it for a couple of years. I apologize. Okay. See, Rich, we all have, you know, some technical problems here and there. Try this. How's that? How does that look? Slide 2, everybody, with some partners on there?
Yes.
Yay. Thanks. So now I'm going to go to the next slide, which is the one I was talking about. And thank you for letting us know that those slides were not advancing. Much appreciated. So as I said, you might be wondering why we're doing the Solarize program. We manage our local Climate Action Collaborative here at our Walking Mountain Science Center, and you can see our climate reduction goals there. This slide is kind of a glimpse of what's happening with climate action in our county, in Eagle County. It's basically the Climate Action Collaborative is a collection of partners around the county. Their businesses, local governments, nonprofits, schools, and more. They all want to work to implement actions that will help us reduce our overarching community climate action plan goal. Our plan was updated in 2020 to reflect the most current science. And as a result, you'll see the goal that we have on the slide of 50% emissions reductions by 2030. So we have some working groups with the Climate Action Collaborative: energy supply, buildings, waste, transportation, water, and carbon sequestration. And they are all working hard to do some priority actions so that we can reach these goals. Specifically, the energy supply group is kind of why we're here today. We focus a little bit in that group, or a lot, I should say, on renewable energy. So one way we can increase that and promote renewable energy locally and here in our communities is through having a program like this, like Solarize Eagle County. So with the help of many people in the Sustainability Programs Department at Walking Mountains and community stakeholders participating in our energy supply working group through the Climate Action Collaborative, we've developed the Solarize Eagle County program we're going to share with you today. And if you'd like to learn about any of the efforts that's going on with our local Climate Action Collaborative, you can always go to climateactioncollaborative.org. So quickly, just so you all understand kind of how this program works, Solarize Eagle County, here is the step-by-step on glimpse of how it works. We will, as I mentioned before, be sending out a follow-up email. So we'll include slides so you can reference this slide or any of the slides that are going to be shared with you following this if you have more questions or just want that reference. And we'll send you the recording as well. But essentially, it's super easy. You sign up online. There's going to be a form online that you fill out. Once you fill out that form, we'll get you all dialed in and you'll eventually hear from the installer, and they will provide a customized proposal after they do a solar visit for you, a solar assessment. They'll have a customized proposal for you. If you like that, you decide to sign a contract. The time frame of the enrollment period is going to be April 8th to July 8th. So you have to sign your contract within that enrollment period. But once you've signed the contract, you can get a free home energy assessment, and that's required that you get a home energy assessment, but it is free. And then they'll also be working on getting your utility approval at that time. And then you'll get your solar system installed. Rich, who I'll tell you about here in a little bit, is going to tell you all about that and how long those things take and what that looks like. And then after it's all done and connected to the grid, you'll get to get some rebates from Energy Smart Colorado, as well as Holy Cross Energy, and even Active Energies is chipping in a little there. So stay tuned to hear more about that. And then of course, at the end, we can all celebrate clean, renewable energy. These are the people at Walking Mountains that are going to be your main contacts for Solarize, people that have been most involved in working hard on this to make sure we could bring it to you and to our communities. Melissa Kier, she's our Senior Programs Director for the Sustainability Programs Department. Myself, I'm the Programs Director for the Energy and Buildings team. And then Diego, who I introduced earlier, he's our Program Coordinator here for the Energy and Buildings team. And those are the ways you contact us at the bottom of the slide. We'll show you this information again at the end, but like I said, you'll get this information all in a follow-up email. So now I'd like to tell you about our chosen installer for our 2022 Solarize Eagle County program. That's Active Energy Solar. Rich, who's here with us today, is going to share most of the content of this webinar and all the good, really good information you want to hear about and want to learn about. So stay tuned. He's coming up next. Let me tell you about Active Energies. It was founded in 2006. It has grown into the largest local solar installer servicing Eagle County and the Colorado High Country. They're based in Eagle Vale and they employ over 25 people. They've installed over 2.1 megawatts of solar in the last 3 years through various solar programs alone, Solarize programs alone. So our neighboring counties have also been doing these Solarize programs as well. And they are committed to bettering their community through a commitment to renewable energy and sustainability. They're recognized Actively Green. They're the Actively Green Small Business of the Year in 2020. And Active Energies believes not only in the power of solar PV and helping the community and its members achieve energy independence and shared climate goals, but also in the value of energy efficiency and energy consumption reduction. To that end goal, they are proud to support Walking Mountains and the Climate Action Collaborative and other local initiatives. As part of Solarize Eagle County, they've committed to subsidize each home for their energy audit, to pay for those home energy audits for their free, so they're free for each participant. Active Energy Solar is proud of the products they install and fully vets each supplier and manufacturer's products to ensure that their supply chain is sustainable and as renewably sourced as possible. And Rich is the owner of Active Energy, is here with us today to share some more information. He purchased Active Energy Solar from the founders in early 2017, and the company's grown 4 times in that time since he's had it. He holds degrees in chemistry and economics from Whitworth University and is certified as an NABCEP PV installation professional, the highest industry certification for PV installers. Active Energy Solar is committed to training and educating local workforce. More than half of their staff holds at least one professional certification. They're grateful to be selected as a Solarize Eagle County partner installation company, and are I lost my notes, I'm so sorry. And are excited to serve their local community through the program. And we are excited to have Active Energies as our partner. They have experience doing this. They're really accessible and super knowledgeable, which is Rich is going to show you next as he tells us all about it. So Rich, I'm going to let you take it away, and I'll flip your slides for you.
Thanks, Nikki. Well, thank you for everybody for joining. Eagle County put this out for a competitive bid, and we're really happy that we were selected as a company. Just to give you a little background on our experience with Solarize, we did our first Solarize program for Summit County in 2019 and have done it every year since then. We were selected last year and did Solarize Garfield County and installed quite a bit of PV and batteries there, kind of blowing away all the records for the Solarize program across the country. And we hope to follow that up in Eagle County. This is a program that we truly believe in because of the fact that I jokingly say it's like Costco of solar for consumers. Based on the program and advanced purchases that Active Energy has made, we're able to offer solar at a discounted rate. And then on top of that, local community rebates, as well as Active Energy's chipping in our own discount rebate, as well as part of what we do with all solar installs is we subsidize part of the energy audit to try and make it free for everybody, because we believe solar is a part of the solution. It's great to produce energy on your own home for your own consumption, but we also want to encourage people to conserve energy as well. Nikki, if you want to advance the slides, of the slide. So this just gives you an idea of our electrical power grid. And I'm going to kind of do an overview of how power gets to your home, and then how solar works in your home. And then we'll walk through what Solarize, the process is for each individual person who signs up. All of this is free until you sign a contract. So there's no cost to sign up. There's no cost to get a home assessment for solar proposal. And then we can work with you guys with homeowners on financing options and things like that. But this shows an idea of where we get our power. Colorado has historically been a coal-powered state, and our energy mix is changing. So we get power from wind, we get power from solar, we get power from homes who have solar, and then coal-fired power plants and a little bit of hydroelectric. We don't have a huge amount of water, but we do have one hydroelectric plant in the Glenwood Canyon area that services our grid as well. If you want to advance the slide. So power comes from a power plant. They step it up and transmit it over those high voltage power lines that you guys see around the county. And then it reaches a substation. So depending on where you live, if you live, say like in Eagleville, Holy Cross has a substation there that takes that high voltage power and then distributes it to individual homes and businesses. If you want to go to the next slide. This is just a look at the renewable energy portfolio standards by state. And Colorado had a goal of 30% by 2020. We reached that. And in 2020, the governor committed that he wanted the state to be 100% renewable by 2050. The nice thing is that we have Holy Cross in our is our power provider for Eagle County. If you want to advance the next slide, they've committed to being 100% carbon free by 2030. Sorry, that's a typo on that slide. So they originally had it 2050, and then they made some huge strides. They're bringing on a 30 megawatt solar farm and a 30 megawatt wind farm, I believe, this year. And by the end of this year, from talking to folks at Holy Cross, they should be greater than 70% renewable by the end of the year. To give you kind of a contrast to that, Xcel Energy is quite a bit behind. They're only at about 30% carbon free, or excuse me, 37% carbon free. And wind makes up the vast majority of that. They're bringing on more solar, but a lot of their generation is coal and natural gas, as you can see. So, you know, there's great strides being made, and Solarize, you know, was put together by Solar Energy International, their Solar Forward group, to try and encourage home solar. We call it distributed generation. So rooftop solar, ground mounts for folks, to provide, you know, additional solar and renewable resources on the grid from the consumer level. If you want to advance the slide, I want to talk about solar basics. So what's the difference between energy and power, the parts of a solar array, and then what grid tied means, and net metering. And net metering is really important, and that makes solar very beneficial for those of us, you know, here in Colorado. If you want to go to the next slide, just want to talk about power versus energy. Power is work done over time, and energy is the ability to do work. So in terms of, you know, energy, we talk about it in watt hours or kilowatt hours. That's what you see on your bill and what you pay for, and the power is how much you can deliver at a given time. So your desktop computer is 200 watts. If you run it for an hour, you've consumed 200 watt hours, just in simple terms. So it's the ability to do work over time. Scroll to the next slide. This is a little geeky. I love solar energy, and you know how solar works is that you've got silicon cells that get excited by the sun, and you have a positive and negative field in there, and the electrons move across that field and generate current. What is produced in the solar panel is called DC power, direct power, and so that flows one way. What you get when you plug in an outlet in, or plug something into your outlet, is alternating current. So we have to convert the power that you get on the rooftop, this direct power. Think of it like a battery, or your cell phone uses direct current, to a usable form of power. And the next slide talks about the parts of a solar array. And the solar array collects sunlight energy on your roof, and it's transmitted through wires to an inverter. And the inverter sits on the side of your home, and it converts that power into usable energy in your home. This is a typical SolarEdge system. It's the industry leader in terms of energy production in residential solar arrays. You have solar panels, you have a power optimizer, and that's a little, I call it a smart box on the back of each solar panel. And what that allows, it allows the panels to operate at the most efficient, highest productive level that you can, and therefore you maximize your system. So systems with this technology optimizers, if say one panel is covered by snow or dirt or things like that, it's operating at its highest level versus causing everything to operate at the rate limiting step. So it's newer technology. SolarEdge was launched in 2014, 2015, and it's quickly become the fastest growing solar energy technology out there on the market. So if we want to go to the next slide, we'll talk about the power flow from your home. So energy is generated on your roof. It goes to an inverter. It flows through a production meter, although Holy Cross eliminated that because they're going to bi-directional meters. The energy flows into your electric panel. So if your home is consuming energy at that time, so you have lights on, you're cooking dinner on your electric range, you're consuming the energy that you're producing right then. If you have more production than you need, it actually flows back out onto the grid in a net meter. And this is where net metering comes in. So in Colorado, there's a law, it's called the solar net metering law. And so for every kilowatt hour that you put on the grid, you get that back. So essentially, Holy Cross and other energy providers store your power for you. So your meter will likely run backwards during the day as you fill up the grid. And then at night, when the sun's not shining, you get those electrons back. And the idea is to build a solar array that will produce more energy than you need, and you'll have a solar bank. So in the summer, you'll produce a lot more energy than in the winter, and you'll build up a negative balance on your Holy Cross bill to be used in the winter when the sun's not shining as much. And there's some complicated math and modeling that we do that calculates what your consumption is and what your solar array will produce. And so we try to get most of our customers, probably about 85% of our customers, completely eliminate their consumption from the grid. So they produce enough power to power their homes for the entire year. Now that obviously depends on how much roof space you have, the shape of your roof and the orientation, things like that. But you'll see that when we deliver a proposal to you for your home. So if you want to go to the next slide. Just want to give you an idea of what it costs for energy. Holy Cross on average is about 11 cents a kilowatt hour. And we talked about that computer. If you were running your computer 18 hours a day, 360 days a year, and it costs 11 cents per kilowatt hour, you're paying $162.56 to run that computer for a year. The average home, and this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, about 2,500 square feet, uses about 11,000 kilowatt hours a year. So that on your bill is about $1,200 a year, around $100 a month. So the idea is to build a solar array that can produce that 11,000 kilowatt hours and reduce your reliance on energy from the grid. If you want to scroll to the next slide. This is an idea, obviously, we've all seen this. You have a Holy Cross bill. On the back side, they give you, and I didn't have a picture of it, but they give you what your consumption is and the rate that you're charged. And then you'll see in red, they actually publish on a monthly basis how much energy excess you're producing. So my home has solar, and I produce a lot more energy in the summer, and then it's typically covered by snow most of the winter. And so I use my solar bank over the winter months to zero out my bill. So my home produces enough energy to offset all of my usage, and it produces it in the summer months primarily when we have good sunshine, and then I draw from my solar bank and I'm zeroed out at the end of the year. So want to go to the next slide. This is what you can expect to save on solar. So with solar, it becomes that blue line. You're essentially locking in your utility rate. And the cost of solar in terms of all the energy it's going to produce over the lifespan, and it's typically 30 years, which is the production warranty that most solar manufacturers have on their panels. You're locking in a rate, you're essentially paying about 5 cents a kilowatt hour over the life of the system. And energy costs, specifically electricity, has risen almost 4% a year over the last 60 years. And that is expected to continue. I know we've all probably seen our Excel bill for our natural gas in our homes. My personal consumption went down about a third this year because I did I had an energy audit done on my new home and made some improvements, but my bill almost doubled because the cost of energy has increased that much. So what you see in the orange is the savings that you will receive by going solar in the long term. And typically the payback on a solar array is about 9 to 10 years. So the system pays for itself, and then essentially you're getting free power for the next 20 years. We want to scroll to the next slide.
Hey, Rich, I have a quick question from someone that you could clarify.
Absolutely.
If you produce more energy in a year than you use, will Holy Cross cut you a check for the bank balance?
In the past, yes, they basically zero you out in March at the end of the year. So just the solar year goes from April 1 to March to the end of March. And in the past, they have zeroed you out. They're now giving homeowners the option to roll those credits forward. And they pay out that check. My check was about $25 last year. And you can bank those credits moving forward, and they pay you at a wholesale rate. And I believe it was about 4.25 cents in terms of their avoided cost of power. So you can roll those forward, or you can opt to get a check moving forward. This is a great question. So this is a system that we put in, looking at Arrowhead over there. That's in Wildridge. This is an older solar array. The panels that we install now are all black, so you won't see the white checkerboard grid there. And the panels that we've purchased for this program are all black, so they have an all black frame. We use all black, racking materials based on HOA and things like that. So we work with all of those. If you want to scroll to the next slide, people ask us, is now the right time to do solar in terms of all of the costs? Panel costs have increased, but in anticipation of Solarize, I purchased over 1 megawatt of solar modules to install in this program at a reduced cost. So we reserved those modules at the end of last year, and so our pricing is based on last year. And in the industry, solar costs have increased about 15% overall. But in this program, and this is kind of part of the discount, is that we were planning on projects like these. We're doing Solarize in Summit County, and we bought enough materials to offer it at basically last year's pricing. With everybody, you order an appliance and it takes 6 months to get here. We actually have all of the materials for all of the projects that we anticipate doing through Solarize, in stock or on order to be delivered this summer. So we've kind of cut that curve and designed it to save folks money. If you want to go to the next slide, this is a busy slide, but kind of want to talk to you guys about the rebates that are offered. So Energy Smart Colorado and then certain communities in Eagle County have offered up rebates for people going solar. So it's $1,000 for individual homes in Vail, Avon, Edwards metro area, and Eagle, and then $2,000 for businesses and multifamily homes in those areas. There's additional rebates for low to moderate income households, and we'll talk about that when we get to how you sign up. Signing up through Walking Mountains, there will be a question about the household income, and if you qualify, you'll get an even better deal on the solar. Because we secured some even lower cost modules, not lower quality, but lower cost modules. And we have about 125, 150 kilowatts of those lower cost modules for low to moderate income households. Battery storage, there's $3,000 rebate for residences, $6,000 for businesses, and then it's $4,000 for low to moderate income. In terms of Elgibel and Basalt, kind of area of Eagle, it's a $2,500 rebate through CORE. So they have their own rebate program in the Roaring Fork Valley, and those homeowners in that area will be getting that. On top of these rebates, there is, because we're all Holy Cross in Eagle County, there's additional Holy Cross rebates, and they pay $250 a kilowatt for the first 6 kilowatts. So they'll pay, what is the math on that, about $1,500 for a 6 kilowatt system, and then above that it's $100 a kilowatt. So the average homeowner gets about $1,800 to $1,900 in rebates from Holy Cross, because the average system size is about 8 to 9 kilowatts. Our company, as part of this program, is going to give a bill credit on the final bill for everybody who participates of $300 a customer. It basically makes it simple for everybody. In years past, we've had a tiered rebate system that went up as more people signed on. It became a challenge to manage that, and then also there was a delay in the people who got their system installed at the beginning of the program that had to wait until August or September when we finished the program to receive their rebates. So we've decided as a company to give what the average rebate was in the Solarize programs that we've done before. And we're just going to take that off your final bill. As an addition, because we believe strongly in the work that Walking Mountains does, is Active Energy is going to donate $10 a kilowatt of installed solar in this program to Walking Mountains to support their energy efficiency and environmental programs. So if we install 425 kilowatts, Active Energy Solar will donate $4,250 to Walking Mountains.
Thank you,
And
Rich.
on top
That's
of that,
awesome.
yeah, and you're welcome. And on top of that, at the very bottom, we are also going to subsidize $100, and we pay the auditors and Walking Mountains directly for your home energy audit. And Nikki can touch base a little later on their energy audit program and how that works, because I know that they were talking about subsidizing that as well. And the goal is to try and get those energy audits free.
Yeah,
solar.
so we've
Go ahead.
decided we're going to subsidize any additional costs, and all those audits will be free. So nobody's going to have to pay anything for their audit, regardless of where they're at or the size of their home.
That's awesome, because typically an energy audit costs between $350 and $500. And what you'll get in that audit is an assessment. They'll do a blower door test to see if your home has leakage. They'll do infrared cameras to see if you have hot or cold spots in your home. And then they'll actually give you, it's about a 5 or 6 page report on simple things that you can do and more costly items, like replacing furnaces and things like that, but to make your home more energy efficient. The goal is not just to produce a lot of energy to offset what you're currently using, but to encourage energy consumption reduction and energy efficiency across the county. And that feeds into what the Climate Action Collaborative was designed for, so try and improve energy efficiency. And this is, real money that everybody's spending every month. And so we'll go to the next slide.
Before we go to the next slide, Rich, I have one question. Excel is in Minturn. The only place in our area that has Excel is Minturn. Can you elaborate a little bit on the rebates they might have for solar?
Yeah, they offer a $250. They'll reimburse the homeowner, so the homeowner will pay for the energy audit, and we can work with you if you live in Minturn. And thanks, Nikki, I forgot, we do have Excel. And Excel.
So the energy audit we're still going to subsidize that in Minturn, but specifically for the solar, if there's rebates for solar from Excel.
There are not additional rebates for solar with Excel.
Okay.
They used to have them probably 8 years ago, and they were very popular, and they exceeded what they had, and now they've been investing a lot more in Excel owned solar arrays, so they discontinued that probably 7 years ago. Talk about the federal tax credit. So the great thing about solar is not only will it pay for itself, but you get money back from the government, and it's a tax credit. It's not a deduction, like deducting for your kids or healthcare or things like that. If you say buy a solar array that costs $10,000, for example, your federal tax credit would be $2,600. And if that home owes, say, $5,000 in income tax, you'll get $2,600 deducted from that. So your federal tax bill will only be $2,400. And that's the easy math. So the federal tax credit is 26% for 2022. And next year it drops to 22%, and then it expires completely. And we hope that the federal government can get their act together and quit fighting amongst themselves in Congress and extend this, because it's really helped the industry grow. And not to get political, but there's tax credits for everything from, petrochemical refining and oil and natural gas, and the solar industry. You can't outsource jobs. The people that we employ all live in the Valley, all contribute to the local economy, and this is a good thing. So that's my take on that. We'll go to the next slide. To give folks an idea of what a solar array would cost. So this is a smaller system, a little bit less than our average. The systems range typically between 6 and 9 kilowatts. The average last year in Solarize Summit County and Solarize Garfield County was about 8 1/4. But those homes tend to be a little bit older. versus Eagle County. So I used a smaller array. So a 6.82 kilowatt system will produce about 10,000 kilowatt hours. And we calculate that to be 110% offset. As a company, we try and target 115 to 120% offset. And the reason for that is solar panels, like the dash pad of your car, they're exposed to sunlight. And they, a dash pad of your car, if you left it out in the sun for 30 years and it was black to begin with, it's probably going to be gray. That's what's called light-induced degradation. So the panels in year one, if they produce 100%, there's an initial bump down. They lose about 3% efficiency in the first year, and then it's a straight line about 0.5% each year after that. So at the end of their life cycle, most solar panels will produce about 82 to 85% of the original. So if we peg your system size at 115%, you should theoretically not have a bill. If you do some energy improvements and efficiency as outlined in the energy audit you'll get, you can reduce your consumption and extend that. And we talk about 30 years, that's the warranted life for production. So the manufacturer, guarantee at the end of its life cycle that the panel will produce a certain amount of energy. Solar panels produce energy for a lot longer. For example, there's a system in Eagle County that we have done periodic checkups on. It was installed in 1974 and it's still producing power. So that system's over 60 years old, or almost 60 years old, and still producing power. So they last a very long time with minimal to no maintenance and upkeep. So the cost of that system, if we assume it's about $3.25 a watt, is going to cost a little over $22,000. In Eagle, where this home theoretically is located, they'd get an Energy Smart rebate of $100. Active Energies would deduct $300 from the final bill, and then your federal tax credit is almost $5,300, bringing the total cost to just over $15,500, and that's a 9% annualized return. So the way you think about that is if you were to put $15,000 in the bank, you're getting probably 0.5% interest. The stock market returns, 7% a year on average. This is a better investment than the stock market, and you're doing something good for the environment. The payback on this is about 9 years. Sorry, that was a lot of information. We'll go to the next slide. What does solar do for the value of your home? And there's a study that was published out of the University of California, Berkeley, in conjunction with Zillow a couple of years ago that showed for every dollar you put into your home, you add at least $1 back in terms of the value of your home. So if you spend, in that last example, $22,000 on a solar array, your home value should increase by $22,000. And typically homes with solar sell about 30% faster than homes without, because prospective buyers understand that they're getting a discount on their electricity bill with a solar array. So if you look at that last example, you're only paying a little over $15,000, but you're getting an added, $22,000 in value in your home. So it works on an economic standpoint. And that's what I jokingly tell people is that if solar didn't make sense on the green side in your pocketbook, it wouldn't make sense at all. So this is drastically different than it was even 5 or 10 years ago. The cost of solar has come down, the cost of installation has come down, and it really makes economic sense in a positive way for each person to go solar. A typical array, like I was walking through before, this is on an annual basis. It reduces the amount of coal that's burnt, 6.1 metric tons, which equates to about 12.3 metric tons of carbon dioxide that won't be released into the atmosphere. Most people don't think about water when they think about solar, but it takes water to produce energy. And you save about 8,600 gallons of water a year, or the equivalent of almost 19,000 miles. And in the environment, it's about 41 trees that are planted for an array like this on an annual basis in terms of CO2 and those sorts of things. We want to go to the next slide. This is a snapshot of the monitoring system that comes with the solar arrays that we install. So each homeowner will have access and through the process after the install. We do a final walkthrough, and we set up basically online monitoring. Active Energy's passively monitor your system, but we really leave it up to the homeowners to monitor their systems. But you can see on a daily basis how much your system will produce. You can see a bright sunny day, a day with snow, and what that does. There's also a great app from Holy Cross that'll show it's real time, like every 15 minutes it updates and shows what you're producing, what you're consuming. So using both of those with Holy Cross is a huge benefit. Want to go to the next slide? This is my pitch for energy efficiency. One of the biggest things that people get back, or one of the most common recommendation is change out your light bulbs. So an LED light bulb uses 86% less energy than an incandescent bulb. They produce a lot less heat, and they last a lot longer. So this is our pitch for kind of the whole picture of energy efficiency and energy consumption reduction. The next couple of slides will go through the process of what it means to be involved in Solarize. So the way that this program is set up with Eagle County is Walking Mountains has a website. You can sign up on their website. You'll fill out an online form, and then Walking Mountains will process that form and send that information over to Active Energies, and you'll get a call or an email from us. And it's an email. It's solarizeeagle@activeenergies.com. And what we need to basically start the process is access to what your home's historical energy usage is. So you can reach out to Holy Cross or download it online and send that information to us. And why that's important is it gives us an idea of your total consumption on an annual basis, not just 1 month, because most people use a lot less energy in the summer than you do in the winter. Your bills typically fluctuate like that. So it gives us an idea of a picture of a whole year of what your home has consumed, and that allows us to begin the modeling process for your home. So one of our solar specialists will reach out to you and schedule a site visit. They'll come out to your home. We'll either get up on the roof and take measurements, or if it's too dangerous, we'll fly the drone up and take digital measurements with a drone and using software. We'll take photos of your electrical system because we have to verify that everything will work electrically, hooking up the solar inverters and backfeeding your solar power, your new solar system to the grid. After that assessment, it usually takes a few days for them to put together a proposal and customize it for you. And we'll give a couple different options in terms of what types of panels you can select. So we have we use a standard panel, a premium panel, and then a super premium type of panel. And these are all very good tier 1 manufacturers. The only differences are a little bit in production, wattage size on the panels, and then warranties from the manufacturer. Once you get that proposal, nothing costs anything at this point. We do all of this for free through the Solarize program, and you'll receive the proposal. Feel free to reach out with questions. We're very responsive, and if you decide to move forward and give us a thumbs up, our office will send you a contract. If you want to go to the next slide, and then we send the contract over, and usually within a couple of days of proposal acceptance, we use DocuSign. So you get an email, you can sign it electronically, and at the same time, we also have you fill out. There's an application to Holy Cross or Excel to connect to the grid. So we do that all in a DocuSign, and then we start the process of permitting. So we put together all the plans. A quick note about financing or cash. We've vetted many different solar financing options and have settled on a couple different programs that are there's no additional fees. It's a very competitive interest rate. There's no prepayment penalties if you want to pay off your solar array earlier, and the terms are anywhere from 10 to 21 years on those loans. So typically, customers who finance, about 95% of them, the cost of their solar loan on a monthly basis is usually about $5 to $10 cheaper than their electricity bill. So it's taking what you're normally paying now to the utility company and transitioning that to a solar loan very affordably. If you choose to do a cash purchase, we ask for a 50% deposit. That covers our costs in terms of permitting, reserving the materials for you, and locking in that price. From a permitting standpoint, the folks in our office will create the electrical plans for you and put a package together to send off to the utility and also to the authority having jurisdiction, so the local building or planning department, sometimes HOAs, depending on where you live, for approval. We pay all the fees, we pay all the permit costs is included in the solar proposal. And depending on where you live, it can take as short as a couple days to get approval back to a few weeks. The longer ones are typically when we have to go through a design review board process with an HOA, but typically 1 to 2 weeks is the average. We submit that Holy Cross interconnection request at the same time, and the approval from Holy Cross, depending on the volume of solar applications that they get, is typically about a week, but it can take up to 2 weeks, depending on the volume of people that are doing it. Last summer, we saw approval times in the 2 to 3 week range, just because Solarize Garfield was so popular, and a lot of people went solar through that program. We had over 100, I think it was 110 people sign up and go solar through that program. So if we want to go to the next slide, once we submit everything and we get the utility and the permitting department, building department approval back, typically we schedule the installation about 8 to 9 weeks out, and a lot of that depends on workforce availability. We have a winter crew that works year round, and we install throughout the winter months, and then we have a crew that works in the snow sports industry, resort industry in the winter, and they come on for the summer. With Vail Resorts extending their season, those folks aren't coming back for a few extra weeks. The installation, once it's scheduled and the crews roll on the trucks with all your equipment, the installation takes about 1 to 2 days, depending on the complexity and the size of the system. And we have our own in-house electrical teams. So we have 2 master electricians, journeymen, residential wiremen that do the interconnection. So we do all of the process, not just putting panels on the roof, but the interconnection as well. Once we're done with the installation, we request inspection. It's typically scheduled the next day or the following day, depending on inspection schedules. And once it's approved by the AHJ, we get a report, and you usually get it the next day after approval. And we send that off to Holy Cross and request them to come out and energize your system. So they'll come out and send a line crew out to test the system, make sure that it's installed properly to their specifications, and then they'll energize the system. They'll let you and Active Energies know that it's done, and then our team in the office will reach out to schedule a final walkthrough, where we set up the internet, the monitoring, and walk through all the final paperwork and warranty information. So basically, start to finish, it's about 3 months, 90 days on average, but that's highly dependent on how many people sign up and move forward. So I encourage everybody to get in early and get the process started. Wanted to talk about batteries, and there's a really cool opportunity in partnering with Holy Cross, but a lot of people ask us about batteries, and our batteries, right for me in my home. So Nikki, let me just stop here. And are there any questions that are pertinent to what I just covered that you want me to answer, or should I just continue moving forward?
Sure, we can ask you a couple of questions that would go with that. So I think you kind of answered this, but maybe you could elaborate. Can a contract be signed subject to design review board approval? So like what happens if the design review board doesn't approve and they've signed a contract, or can you elaborate on any of that?
Sure. Well, it's unique to Colorado. We have something called the Solar Access Law. So if a solar array is placed on a rooftop, it cannot be denied by law. So your HOA cannot deny it. They can make certain comments about conduit runs and things like that of where they want them, but it can't negatively impact the cost of the system. So it caused the system cost to go up dramatically. So we've never really had an HOA deny one, The only caveat to that is if you have land and you want to put solar on the ground, an HOA can deny a ground mounted solar array. But we probably do 7 to 8 ground mounted arrays a year, and we haven't had any issue with approval. We don't find that to be a problem. It's just the process for them to review it, following HOA guidelines and things like that. We've installed all over Eagle County. I'd venture a guess that probably 7 out of 10 solar arrays in Eagle County have been installed by our company, in all areas, whether it's Cordillera or Singletree or Eagle Vale or Vale, Eagle, Dotsero, Gypsum, and the like. And we've dealt with every single permitting authority as well as all the HOAs. I don't think there's a single HOA we haven't worked with yet. So to answer the question, it's not a concern from our standpoint of being denied, but if somebody does have that concern and it doesn't get approved, we obviously void the contract.
Thanks, Rich. There's another
Sure.
question here. Our HOA community will be re-roofing all of our units in the next year or two. So how does installing, then removing, then reinstalling work?
Sure, it happens from time to time. Typically, what we do as a company, in those cases is the cost to remove a solar array and reinstall it is around $1,800 to $2,700 on average, and we just charge time and materials for our crews to come out and do that. So it's something that, on a one-off basis, we would walk through the economics of doing that. But we do it at a very economical rate for folks. And we do that probably 3 to 4 times a year where homeowners need to replace a roof or damage. So it's something that we can talk about with the homeowner or the HOA. One thing to note for HOAs, there's a lot of multifamily homes. Like I live in a townhouse and it's common walls and the HOA owns the roof. We've worked through those issues as well, getting the homeowner to sign a release to allow it to be put on their roof, taking responsibility for the solar array in that regard. So we'll work through and with each homeowner on those individual kind of one-off issues.
Cool, thank you. And then another roof-related question. Is there ever a problem with the weight or installation causing problems with the underlying roof, specifically a new seamed metal roof?
Okay, I'll take that in 2 parts. So for a standard asphalt roof, a solar array is considered one more layer. And by code, you can put up to 3 layers of roofing material over the top of it based on structural. A solar array installed on a roof is about 2.5 to 3 pounds per square foot of weight. So the building departments view it as another layer of roofing. So several jurisdictions require a structural engineer to take a look at the structure. So we'll take photos in your attic and send that off to a structural engineer. They'll look at the building code of when your home was built in terms of the stresses and tolerances, but we haven't had that be an issue. Very rarely do we find homes with more than a single layer or even 2 layers of roofing. So that's not an issue. The second part of that with standing seam metal roofs, we use non-penetrating standing seam clamps to attach the roof to the roof material, and we space them out to spread the weight out, so it's not all on just one seam vertically. So we stagger the mounting brackets to spread the weight out, and that's how we would do it. Typically on a roof, we will likely penetrate to get to the soffit and run conduit down to the inverter. And we walk through with each homeowner what that looks like, the impact, and get homeowner input on how we do our electrical, we call them home runs.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then a couple more here. One's a quick one. For ground mount installations, do you build a foundation and framework?
Yeah, we do all of that. We actually, a couple of years ago, we bought a skid steer and a concrete mixer that goes on that. Skid steer mounted auger. So we would basically drill holes and put sonotubes in and pour concrete for the foundation. And we do all of that in-house. Sometimes we outsource that to an excavation company, depending on the complexity of the soils and things like that. But yeah, we do it all, start to finish. And that would be a customized quote based on material and what it costs to actually build it.
Great, thank you. And then one last question here. How much space do the inverters and other required equipment need?
Sure. So what you'll see on the outside of your home, in Holy Cross territory, they don't require a production meter. In Excel area, if you're in Minturn or that area of the county that has Excel, if your system is over 10 kilowatts in size, then they require a production meter, but under that, they do not. So the inverters are about 15 inches wide. They're 6 inches thick. So they're wall mounted, and they're about 18 inches tall. And then the disconnect for that for the system that's required for shut off for fire protection, so the fire department come and shut the system off with a knife blade switch, is about 9 inches wide and about 12 inches tall. So that's about the space that we need exterior. We can also mount the inverters inside, but that electrical disconnect is required on the outside of the home, and it's got to be co-located with your meter. So generally we can find space on the outside of a home or in the garage for all the required equipment. Okay, so to talk about batteries, batteries are becoming more and more prevalent in the area, and Holy Cross has a really unique program, which I'll touch on a little bit, to try and distribute energy storage. Because as you get closer and closer to 100% renewable, you got to store all the power that happens in the middle of the day that's not being used. So what can batteries power? Typically, a battery system we can do what's called critical loads, or we can do a whole home backup power. The more that you want to power in a grid outage, the more battery storage that you need. And so batteries require a little bit more consultation with a customer in terms of what is most important for them. And typically a battery will a one battery system. We do Tesla batteries, and their systems can power a home, at full loads for about 2 to 3 hours. But in a grid outage, you're really looking at energy conservation. So you wouldn't run your electric, clothes dryer in a grid outage. You'd use the sources of energy and power draw that you need for that time till the grid comes back on. Holy Cross is an incredibly reliable grid, and I think the most recent data that I saw was the average homeowner on the Holy Cross grid only loses power for about 20 minutes cumulatively for the year. My home flickers every once in a while and pops back on, so it's not a huge issue in our area because most of our power lines are underground. So we want to go to the next slide. We do sell Tesla Powerwalls. We're a certified Tesla installer. And as part of that, the Tesla Powerwall, it's a sleek device. There's also another box that goes on, and it's called the backup gateway. It operates as an automatic transfer switch. So then when the grid goes out, it tells the battery to turn on, and then your solar will run. In a grid outage, if you don't have a battery, your solar will not operate. It needs to see the grid, or it needs to see some source of power to operate. So the capacity of a standard Tesla Powerwall is 13.5 kilowatts. You can discharge it fully, and it has its own inverter, so it's actually AC coupled. So it can run independently. You can install a Powerwall with or without solar, or solar with or without a battery. Go to the next slide. If you had a solar array, it typically it charges a battery within 1 day. So our average size system, being 8 kilowatts, if it's producing full, it's about 2 to 3 hours of full sunshine to charge it. And what people typically choose to run, or maybe refrigerator or kitchen appliances, a small microwave, some lights, garage door openers, internet, those sorts of things. What they choose not to power are high consumption items like your stove, a clothes dryer, electric water heaters, things like that. You're just going to try and limp along and operate as best you can on limited power and capacity. If we go to the next slide, with solar, you get immediate backup power benefits. The solar will operate, and you do save a little bit of money because the crews are all there doing all the electrical work and the solar. So it's cheaper to install a battery with solar, and with solar you're eligible for the federal tax credit. So you get a 26% tax credit on the cost of the battery. If you do batteries without solar, batteries don't qualify by themselves for the renewable tax credit, and it's plug and play, so it can be done before or after. So we'll go to the next slide. So typically batteries only have value when the grid is down, and there's not really cost or earning savings over time. There's two programs that Holy Cross has. One is called the Power Plus program, and I'll talk about that a little later. And then they have another program where, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but they'll send out emails and they tell you, hey, during this 2 hours, if you reduce your energy consumption, we'll pay you for not using power. So a lot of folks that buy the batteries outright opt into that program and then use the battery for self-consumption during those times. And I believe Holy Cross pays $1 per kilowatt hour not used. So look at your historic peak payback. Thank you very much, Diego. It's called a peak payback program. So they'll pay you $1 for every kilowatt hour you don't use. And typically it's 3 to 5 events per month. So if you're using your battery for that full time and you draw it all the way down, you can earn $10 to $11 a day during those events. So they'll pay you for not using energy or using your battery to supply the grid, and they use that for peak consumption times. So for battery storage, the federal tax credit is really, like I said before, only available that are for systems that are sized with solar. So you get 26% of the total system cost, and then it decreases if you charge it from the grid more than you do from the solar array. But typically it's going to charge from the solar array if you have solar combined with it. And there is no tax credit if you don't have solar and EcoStorage. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is the Power Plus program. This is a really unique program. Holy Cross got a federal grant from the U.S. Department of Energy for distributed battery storage. Basically, what they have is an on-bill payment program that Holy Cross pays for the battery, and you get an on-bill for it. But Holy Cross will consume the energy on the battery about 10 times a month, a maximum of 120 times a year during peak time. So they'll actually activate your battery to discharge onto the grid when they need more power, and they'll subsidize your battery cost. So, the cost of a single battery is about $13,000, almost a little under $14,000 for a single battery. And in this program, the monthly bill after all the credits and the rebates that they apply up front is about $46 a month for the first battery. Each additional battery, because it's less costly to install, to add batteries to it, is about $16 a month. We did an analysis with Holy Cross based on a 5 battery system, and the homeowner was paying around $110 a month. So over a 10-year period, it's a 0 interest program. So it's really, you're just paying 120 payments. It costs a little over $13,000 to get 5 batteries, and the savings on that is about $45,000 or $46,000 versus buying them outright. We can walk through that, and part of this, you can reach out to Holy Cross and sign up and say, hey, I'm going solar through Solarize and we want to use Active Energies. They'll put it into their system and we work with them on the process. So
Hey, Rich,
I also
wanted to share what Lisa Reed from Holy Cross just commented. Holy Cross Energy's Power Plus program does not qualify for the federal tax incentive on the battery costs, just so everybody knows that. If you install without the Holy Cross Energy Power Plus program, you do qualify when you pair with solar.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, that's a really important part, because Holy Cross is actually purchasing the the batteries up front, and then you're making payments over time for them, it would not qualify for the federal tax credit. So that's an important thing to note, but it's still an incredible value and a very cost efficient way to get batteries for you through the on-bill payment program. So if we want to go to the next slide, I'm going to hand it back over to Nikki, and you can walk through this with them. And I just want to say thank you for your time. I'm going to stick around on the call. If anybody has any questions, we'll have a question and answer afterwards. Feel free to throw your questions in the chat.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks everybody for being here. I just wanted to remind you all, or let you know if you don't know, and I apologize, it seems like my video is being very weird, so I'm just not going to show it. We have the enrollment period from April 8th to July 8th, so that's a reminder for you. And then April 29th, we're going to have an in-person event that's going to be here at Walking Mountain Science Center in Avon at 5:30 p.m. on April 29th. We will be doing some outreach about that and marketing, so we'll have a registration page and let everybody know more details about that. But reach out to us at Walking Mountains anytime if you have questions about Solarize Eagle County, you're ready to enroll, or you know more about this in-person event. Our contact info is down there at the bottom. Our in-person event will be kind of just all of this, but more. So we're going to tell you more about what the home energy assessment is. Rich is going to share these slides and maybe a few more, and we're just really going to be in person. There'll be pizza and beer. We'll be available to answer any of your questions in person. There'll be people from Holy Cross Energy there, as well as the whole crew from Active Energies. So it'll be a fun event, and it'll be a good time to be face-to-face to ask some questions.
And we're going to bring samples. We'll bring a solar panel. We'll bring inverters. We'll bring the disconnects, and kind of so you can kind of touch and feel and see what the equipment looks like, and kind of walk through it with you and answer any questions specific to your needs. Sorry.
No problem. Thanks, Rich. That's perfect. That's all we really had. If you have more questions, please write them in the Q&A, and Diego is going to keep an eye on those for a few minutes for us.
Sure, we just had one. Is this program likely to occur next year as well?
Oh, I guess I can answer that one. We're not sure. We're going to see how this one goes this year and see how successful it is. And if we're going to have eager participation for the following year, we will look at our options and consider doing this for next year too, but we just haven't made that decision yet. And we'll give it a couple more minutes. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to type those in the Q&A box or even in chat, or you can also raise your hand if you wanted to say something and chat and ask a question.
I have a question actually for Rich about the federal tax credit. If you install solar one year and get the federal tax credit, and then the next year you install a battery system that's connected to that solar system, can you get the tax credit again for the batteries?
My understanding, and I'm not a tax attorney or an accountant, but the answer to that would be yes. If it is powered and coupled with a solar array, it would qualify.
Thank you.
So just a reminder to everyone, we will send out a follow-up email. In that email, we will include a recording to this webinar as well as the slides, so you can reference those. We will also include just a short survey. So if you have just less than 5 minutes and you can give us some feedback on the webinar, we always appreciate that. And we'll include the links to our webpage for Solarize with more information and all that good stuff as well. Let's see, we have somebody that's raised their hand.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi,
Go ahead,
I
Mike.
am very sorry. My cell phone cut out for while you were talking about the possible charging stations for electronic cars. Is that a possibility of having that be integrated into these battery system?
The answer is yes. We can we can definitely install EV chargers for cars. Highly recommend looking at Holy Cross, and I can't remember if it's still active or not. Maybe Lisa Reed can chat, but Holy Cross does have a program for Holy Cross members, or they did last year, to receive a free EV charger, and that can be installed with your solar installation or battery as part of it.
Marvelous. Thank you.
We've got another question here. Is the program restricted to existing buildings, or is it available for new construction as well?
I guess I'll take that
we-
one, or
yeah.
Rich can. The rebates that are available through Walking Mountain Science Center are only for existing homes. However, Rich, can you elaborate on if we would honor anybody with new builds for this?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
You may not receive the rebates. You would receive a Holy Cross rebate if you're a Holy Cross member, and then the other part of the program in terms of the Active Energies discount at the end would apply, as well as the preferential pricing as part of the Solarize program.
Perfect. That was what I was going to say. Glad you agree. Anybody else have any questions they want to ask us? Well, we have kept you all for quite a while. We appreciate you all being on, and we're going to go ahead and stop the recording now unless we see a question come through. Oh, there's a question. Oh, Adam wants to let us know that Holy Cross Energy will give a member up to 2 EV chargers at home, subject to certain conditions. So yeah, remember that Holy Cross has really some great programs out there, not just for the batteries and solar rebates, but they have a great program for EV chargers at home and providing those to you. So check into that, and we'll be happy to provide a link in that in the follow-up email as well.
Thanks, Adam. I wasn't sure if it was still in effect, so it's really nice to know that it is.
Any other last minute comments anybody wants to make or questions? Again, you can raise your hand and we'll be happy to unmute you as well. All right, we're going to end the recording now.